All right, opposite or alternate? Oh, shoot.
Alternate.
That's quite a low key.
Get him. It's alternate.
Yeah,
Simple or compound?
That's a
Simple.
compound.
Simple.
Oh, my bad.
What's it look like?
Serrated.
I just watched him fly up there. You're good.
What's it look like?
Linear.
A knife.
Knife.
You call it a knife?
This is
A
a
knife.
What's it
Say
look
what
like?
kind of leaf it looks like?
Yeah,
I was gonna say a chestnut, but
it does look a lot like a chestnut. It's on chestnut.
oh, of course.
Anybody have any idea what this is?
Looks like a cherry. Hold on, let me smell it. Let me smell this thing.
What is that?
Yep.
What's your verdict, Stretch?
It's that tree.
You are
We're
correct.
early this year.
Hey, you want to do me a favor? That pocket right here.
What is this thing? I can't get them out of here. But what's that look like?
It's
an acorn.
It's an acorn. Anybody ever seen an acorn? Acorn looks like that?
Why we look at one? Man, is this a freaking oak?
Chestnut?
No.
No, that's
This is an oak that is native to Asia.
Oh, chinkapin.
No, it's not chinkapin. Chinkapin's native here. Chinkapin's actually native here. Damn. All right, now, since we know it's an oak, is it a red oak or a white oak? Think back to some of the things we talked about. I know we haven't done a lot of these. Why do we say it's red?
It's not. It's white.
because the red
underneath.
man threw spears.
It's a salt.
What's that?
Wait,
No,
does it
there
say
could be
with
white
that?
oaks that are serrated, but remember the bristle tips.
it was something.
Give me one more guess. Saltooth.
It is.
I would say it's
Remember, it's
red.
bristle tips. See the little bristles?
Yeah, red.
All right, so that makes it a red oak. This is sawtooth oak, Quercus acutissima. Where have you heard of sawtooth oak?
You said it's native to
It's native to Asia.
Scott Garber told me about it.
So is it like a planted tree
Yes.
though? For...
Yeah. Where has anybody ever heard of sawtooth oak? Where do you hear about sawtooth oak?
Is that in the
Hacksaw Ridge.
I was thinking
No. A lot of your wildlife planting, there's a lot of people that want to plant sawtooth oak.
So you're saying I can take these and plant them and my deer will eat
What
them?
is it?
There's no sawtooth oak.
I know it's not on there.
Not on.
It's not on there.
Oh, good.
Right.
I ain't got my
Why do they want to plant these? Why do they want to plant these? Anybody know what the benefit of them is?
They're not native.
They're not native, but they also mature very quickly. Typical oak, if you plant a normal white oak or red oak, it's going to take maybe 30 to 40 years before the thing starts producing acorns. If you're doing it from a wildlife standpoint, you're trying to, encourage wildlife and provide food for habitats and stuff. That's too long. These things supposedly will start producing acorns in 7 to 10 years. All right, so you go on to like Mossy Oaks Native Nurseries, or something like that,
Making some of these things.
and you
Stretch, give
can
me
find, you'll
I wanna
find
pull it apart.
sawtooth oak. There's also one that's called gobbler sawtooth oak.
Before I get zanes.
All right, it has smaller acorns, especially more desirable for turkeys.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, usually, apparently we're here early because usually when I come up here, these things have been so loaded at the curb down there you can pick them up with a scoop shovel. So apparently I'm here a little bit earlier than what I normally are. You get a couple, take them, plant them. I've planted some at the house. Now remember,
Did it work?
yeah, it worked. Now remember, red oaks do not germinate in the fall. Red oaks wait and germinate in the spring.
Oh, these are acorns.
These are acorns. So if
Senor
you take,
Jefe, you have a wasp on your leg.
so you take these things and plant them, and they're not going to sprout until the spring. The first batch that I planted them. I went back and looked at them, I'm like, man, they didn't germinate at all. It was terrible. Why'd I bother? I kind of forgot about them. Went out there like a month later. I had sawtooth oak tree saplings sprouting up all over the place. I didn't think I planted that many of them. But they were every little hole I had them in. Man, they were
Man, so
sprouting
do
up.
I gotta leave these little things on them? Or
You can, or you can take them off either way.
Good deal, because I've been messing with them.
How good of producers are these?
Man, these right here,
Is it every
Is
year?
it like this every year?
pretty much. Some years there's huge crops up. Now remember, we haven't talked about this when we looked at these. Since we're here, we're kind of talking about the acorns. But when we start looking at red oaks and white oaks, they are different in the way that they produce acorns. All right, white oak acorns mature in 1 year. Right, they mature in one season. So white oak blooms in the spring, the acorn matures, and it's ready to go by fall. Red oaks take 2 years to mature. They're biennial.
Yeah, boy.
So the ones that bloomed this past spring are halfway there now, but they won't be they won't be fully mature till next spring. So it takes 2 years for these to mature. It takes 2 years for these to mature.
What do you
Be
think
next
about
fall.
that, wild man?
You can, and now it's not that they only flower every other year, because you can kind of see on here. If you look at this twig,
It's a lot to take
here's
in.
one that's ready to go. What's this one here?
Not ready.
Yeah, that's next year's probably. All right, those are next year's.
These little tiny ones.
As
Yeah.
a present. Perennial or annual?
You keep that one as a present.
Well, they're all perennials.
Okay.
Perennial means,
Year after
Year
year.
after year.
Okay,
Yeah.
Annual is just 1 year.
yeah, an annual's like a pansy or something
Man,
that you
this one's got
planted.
another one.
Man, a bunch of pansies. Only live one
That you
year.
plant for a season and it dies. Or like
Bunch of quitters.
green beans.
Quitters,
Something
man.
like that.
Pansies.
Okay.
What did you say to plant?
You can plant them now. You can go ahead and plant them now. They're not going to sprout until spring, so don't forget where you put them. There's 2 in the flower bed at my house now, because I try to pick a couple of them up every year.
I'm gonna grow it in my
Before we're done, I'm going to go back to the bus, and I'm going to get the fruit container that Stretch had and fill it up and take them home with me.
Good idea.
Unless you want.
No, man.
Normally I come home with my pockets kind of look
I
like
got
this.
pockets. I got cargo shorts on.
Just start them somewhere and then eventually transplant them.
That's, I learned to kind of throw them somewhere that you're used to looking at. Throw them in a flower bed or something like that.
Man, can I eat this?
Man, I just gonna put them in my food plot.
Yeah. When they start to sprout up, try to put a tree tube or something around them.
Okay.
But this is one of those things. It is, it's planted, but these have done pretty well here. Lake, I'm not sure when they built all this, but the lake was finished here in '81. I'm not sure when they planted these, but these are pretty good producers. They've got quite a little stand of them here.
Let's eat 'em.
And I'm sure there's been quite a few of them started because of me bringing dendro classes here. But you go online and look for it, you'll find you can order sawtooth oak seedlings.
Well,
Or we can come up here and just kind of gather these up and plant them.
hell yeah.
Man, I ain't gonna be able to tell my brother though, because he don't like people know more than him.
Oh yeah?
And if I tell him what I learned, he'll get mad.
Yeah, probably.
Tell me I ain't allowed to plant them.
So Quercus acutissima, it is a red oak. It's a non-native oak that's pretty widely
Man.
planted. But it's kind of one of the neat things we can see as we come up here and sort of take a look
He might
around.
be 30 now. I don't know.
Oh,
Question.
man. How's that taste?
Man, it's a little sour, Jeff.
I'm sure it is. I didn't say it was gonna be good. I said you could eat it, but I didn't say it was gonna be good.
It's
As a
not,
general
did you
rule,
eat it?
yeah, he did.
yeah, it's
As a
not the
general
best
rule,
thing I've ever had.
red oaks are more bitter.
Yeah.
White oaks are supposed to be sweet,
Yeah,
but I don't think I'd compare them to like sweet like bubble gum.
yeah, man.
They might be sweet compared to red oaks, but I don't think they're sweet. Like
I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but that was really gross.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it
I
was.
don't hurt your feelings. That's
Questions? All right. So what is this?
American beach,
American beach. How can you tell it's American beach?
because it's got beach nuts on it.
All right. What else?
How's the bark?
We'll get to
The leaves are very easy to find. Like,
the leaves are wavy.
yeah, man.
All right. They've got serrated, coarsely serrated edges.
They're smooth. They're waxy.
Big teeth. They're kind of smooth and waxy. Not terribly large. Like the leaves are kind of. Once you get to look at things, they're pretty unique. The leaves can be fairly persistent as well, especially on this stuff. This stuff grows off of root sprouts a lot. So you get younger stuff in the understory, and they'll hold their leaves. They'll stay brown and hold on a tree for quite a while through the winter. So that helps with it. What else you notice on the twigs? I don't know if y'all can see that from here or not, but you look at the buds. The
Little
terminal
buds.
buds.
They're brown and
Terminal
pointy.
buds are fairly large, or long, and pointy, and a brown. All right, so there's times once the leaves fall off, those buds are still dead giveaways. They're still really easy to be able to see. And then, as Stretch mentioned, we've also got the presence
Man, hit me up with some of them.
of beech nuts. All right, these are three-sided fruit. You get these things peeled open. They're kind of triangle shaped. There's usually 2 of them in there. That thing will dry open, pop up. It just does have kind of a spiny covering. The spines aren't very stout. I mean, they're, you're not gonna hurt your fingers. Very, very good wildlife food. Very good wildlife food. They're a little sporadic, and when they produce beech nuts, when they do, they're pretty highly desired. People eat them, like Stretch is trying to do to that one.
Yeah, man, I'll get it. I got it.
Man, you want to eat it?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Let
going to
me eat half of it.
Or you can have half and I'll have half.
Bark like on
Okay.
beech. Stretch, you're blocking the cam.
Sorry, man.
Amazing.
I'm trying to eat.
What's the bark look like on beech?
Smooth.
Smooth
With corks
gray,
in it.
Smooth and gray. Kind of bluish. Yeah, a lot of times you'll find these. People have carved their names or something in there. There was one on the college's old farm, and the best we could tell, the oldest name we found it was like 19, I think it was 38. It was 36 or
Damn.
38. You can still
Man,
tell. You can still
just take the
1930, but the
pricklies
last
off.
one starts
Yeah, you
to
gotta
kind
take
of
the
go back
pricklies
together.
off
But you'll see
You
people
gotta
carve
bite
stuff in these all the time.
on the
Beech is
corners.
very shade tolerant.
Spit out.
It'll persist in understory. You can see there's several
You
of them
gotta
here. But it responds very
Spread it
well.
on open.
Okay? It can get very large. A lot of times it'll be hollow. Good wildlife
And
tree for a
sometimes you
variety of
find
reasons,
one
the
with no
cavities,
seeds
the
in
food,
You want me to get
the
yours?
underbrush.
I'll let you bite it and shit.
It is used for We do use the timber, something when they're well formed, we can, you know, makes pretty good lumber. A little different appearance, not real coarse grain. But you'll see it used for a bunch of different things as well. Not many of them are high quality, but you'll still see it used for significant. What's wrong with beech?
Bite one of the corners.
What do you mean, just like down
What's
here?
that?
Yeah, like
No,
one of
it's
the
actually
long
beech bark
pieces.
disease.
Like right here?
Yeah,
It's
like
carried
that.
by a beetle.
Like
Beetle
this, not
pierces
like
the bark,
this.
and the fungus
Bite
is in
it?
there
Yeah,
and starts
bite
to
it
kill
off.
them. So there's been a significant, I don't want to say
I'll spit
significant
it
climb,
out.
but there's been a lot of beech trees dying because of that.
Yours, I think, has one.
Right.
Yeah, it does. Hey, pry it off there.
Questions about beech.
No, eat
Fagus
that.
grandifolia
Yeah, you eat that right
in the Fagaceae family. This is in the same family as our oaks.
Aren't they one of the trees that like keep their leaves in the winter?
Yeah.
What's that?
Aren't they one of the trees?
Might not be right now. Is it rotten? Is like
No, it
too
ain't
ripe?
bad.
All right,
Yeah,
good
the
deal.
smaller ones, the bigger ones don't
Yeah, get
tend to
more
do that as
damage.
much, but smaller ones in brush certainly will for some period of time. Yep. Questions about beech? What's this one? Simple or compound?
Simple.
Odd or even, or alternate or opposite? Man.
Alternate?
Odd or even.
Odd or even? Odd!
Even.
Alternate.
Yeah, alternate. Anybody have any idea what this is?
Witch hazel?
This is witch hazel. This is witch hazel. Y'all are going to love this one. This is Hamamelis virginiana in the Hamamelidaceae family.
Yeah, boy.
It's gonna be hard.
Say that one more time for the
Hamamelis
camera.
virginiana in the Hamamelidaceae family.
Yeah, boy.
All right. Kind of unique shaped leaves. They're kind of fan shaped. They are simple, somewhat fan shaped.
Look like
All right.
seashells.
This one is going to be really easy to identify here in the next month or so. This is about the only thing that we'll look at that blooms in the fall.
Sweet.
All right, this gets a small flower on it. It's got 4 strap-like petals. All right, they're long, linear petals. Sort of form a little cross. You can see the fruit are still on this thing. There's the fruit. That's from last year. Hadn't opened yet. Fruit on these things are pretty. It's a capsule. All right, but it is explosively dehiscent. What's dehiscent mean, first of all? Anybody remember? Dehiscent means that it opens up. It splits open. Well, this thing's explosively dehiscent. So when it opens up, it ejects the seeds out of it.
Man.
That's its seed dispersion method. It's explosively dehiscent. All right, so we'll see that. These understory species don't get very big. They're shade tolerant. You see them like this. Again, another month, you get into October, November, they'll bloom. So you can see these dead giveaway. The leaves are off and they've still got flowers on them. You can see the flower buds on them here now. All right, once leaves fall off, flowers become more prevalent. Pretty common understory species, and we can see all over the place. It is eaten by wildlife. The witch hazel extract that you'll see that some people use for old-time remedies, this is where it comes from.
Yeah, man. It smells so good.
Soap, man. They use it for soap, right?
I don't know what all they use it for. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff. But witch hazel, Hamamelis virginiana and the Hamamelidaceae family. I need y'all to love that.
Stretch.
All right, what's this one? This is Liriodendron tulipifer. This is yellow poplar. We talked about this in lecture last week. We skipped it last week in lab because we couldn't see the leaves. But just here we can see the leaves now. So you can kind of see. You can see the shape of the leaves. This is a member of the Magnoliaceae family. Typical. You know, this is a very unique leaf for yellow poplar. Not a whole lot looks like this. Zane, what did you say you thought it looked like?
Hello Kitty.
I did not see that.
My dad always
I don't either.
Well, I've heard people say cat face. He says Hello Kitty.
Oh, I see it. I see it. Cat in the hat. I see it.
Cat in the hat.
Cat in the hat. I see it. We gotta look this way. This is the head.
Yeah.
That's the hat. Smile. That's the ears.
Okay.
That's the mouth, somewhere invisible right there. There we go. Yellow popular cat in the hat.
Okay, yellow poplar, cat in the hat. Go
Yep,
with
yellow
that's how I'm
poplar,
looking
cat
at
in
it.
the
Now remember, this is not a true poplar. Remember we talked about that when we looked at lecture. It's got these very long petioles that allows it to kind of wave in the wind. Thank you. So it's not a true poplar. It's a member of the Magnolia family. So the leaves are pretty easy to identify. The buds, if you remember we talked about this in lecture, I mentioned the buds. All right, this has got valvate buds. All right, and there's 2 scales that cover it. If you can see that, we could take that thing and split it, and there's 2 scales, one on each side. It looks like a duck mouth kind of thing.
And what's that?
That's the terminal bud. That's the terminal bud. That's next year's leaves are inside there. Okay. The fruit, remember that cone-like aggregate of samaras? And I don't see one on here right off. Right now they'd still be green. They still be closed up pretty tight. But when they start to dry out, they will spread open. Sometimes the axles stay on there and they'll kind of fall off. Sometimes they'll fall off whole. All right. Any questions on yellow poplar? We covered this in lecture and uses and things of that nature. So, any questions on poplar? All right. Good. Anybody want to guess what this is? We've already had a couple people make guesses. Just watch grabbing a hold of it.
I was sitting there about to say.
Whoa, Conlon, whoa.
Anybody want to guess what this is?
Look at him down there. He fell.
That's what it is. Yeah.
What is it?
This is hawthorn, where other people call it thorn apple. This will be one of the easiest ones that you'll get to figure out the scientific name on, because there are approximately 23 different species of hawthorn in West Virginia. There's like 2 people that can tell them apart. I'm not one of them.
23 different ones and 2 people tell them
Something like that. It's very oddball. They're hybridized. They're interbred. They're very diverse. But so all you have to know is this is Crataegus species. Crataegus SPPs. All you got to do for scientific names in the Rosaceae family. Crataegus SPP species.
Crataegus
We can't identify. It's futile trying to figure it out down to the species level. We get to the genus, and that's good enough. So you notice a couple things about it. This is called hawthorn. It has very prevalent thorns. If you look at these.
Don't hurt yourself, Jim.
Ouch!
Oh, he
That's not
did.
good on camera.
Oh my word.
Especially after he just said don't hurt yourself.
But you can see the thorns on these things. All right, so they are very armored. They are sharp.
Man, let me get one of
You
them.
call it a thorn apple or thornberry?
Hawthorn
Wild
or thorn
thornberries, man.
supposedly this is what the Native Americans would use for sewing needles.
Big old thorn,
All
man.
right, so, but you can see the fruit on it. It does get small pomes. That's what an apple is. It's called a pome. That's what this thing has on it. You can see these are particularly loaded. You'll see these very commonly on field edges, fence rows, pasture fields. There's areas of the state like Canaan Valley. They've actually got what they call hawthorn hummocks. There's little areas that sort of stick up a little bit higher in elevation out of the water, and these things have kind of taken over. So you can stand up on Canaan Valley and look out, and you can see these little areas of hawthorn sticking up in there. So they are pretty useful for wildlife, useful for cover. No use really as timber species or anything like that, but one of the pretty neat. Like I said, there's 23 different species at least that we can find. You can see the leaves on this one. We'll probably see some other ones that are a little bit different, have a lot different shaped leaves. But all we got to do is get to Crataegus SPP,
Man.
and we know it's that hawthorn species in the Rosaceae family. Questions on hawthorn?
Are these the only trees with thorns like
What's this one? No. It's not white pine.
Whoa! Whoa!
That's a tree.
What?
Friggin' whoa!
Oh yeah, look at that. That's pretty
No,
cool.
it's not.
Hey, babe!
That looks like.
He gonna get me. Hey, babe, come look at this sucker.
I give you $5
to
for
eat
them.
it.
Take it.
Holy!
That's like a caterpillar that off Bug's Life.
Damn!
Yeah, this is
Get him, Habib.
Yeah, this is slippery elm. And Stretch has found some type of insect on there that's a caterpillar. I have
Man,
no idea what that
you
thing
think
is.
that thing would hurt you?
You see these hairs right there?
Here, get this on camera.
Leaf, look at him. Watch him eat that leaf.
See these hairs?
Man. Ow, bitch ass. Quit that dumb shit, Zane.
And we got all that on video.
Man, he stabbed me with a
Let's
thorn.
not be poking people with thorns. That ain't cool. It's all fun and games till somebody loses an eye.
Fred, you get me bit by this caterpillar going in the friggin' ditch.
I don't know what that. You can look at. You can Google that and see what it is. I have no idea what
Latch. I'm not nowhere near an insect professional. I ain't
All right.
worried about it.
This is slippery elm. All right, if you feel the leaves, they are quite scabrous. That means they've got very stiff hairs on the surface of them.
Little girls.
All right, very stiff hairs on the surface of them. All right. Red elm, fairly similar to American elm, except American elm isn't nearly as scabrous. It can be, but usually it's smooth. Slippery elm usually is quite scabrous. Larger leaves, we kind of find here on the edges pretty commonly. This is also called red elm. The wood in this is actually red. If we could look at the bark, we look at the cross section of the bark, it's brown throughout. There's different shades of brown, but remember American elm, we looked at the cross section of the bark, we had light and dark stripes like the American flag. Slippery elm doesn't have that.
Looks like shag bark.
The buds tend, that's kind of shaggy. The buds tend to be darker, if I remember correctly, on American elm and slippery elm than American elm. All right, so you can tell the difference. Still same Samara fruit, but generally with slippery elm, you look at the bark, you can look at the leaves and the way that they're scabrous, you help tell them apart. All right, this one is fairly resistant to Dutch elm disease, unlike slippery American elm. American elm gets Dutch elm disease, slippery elm does not. At least not at the same rate. Okay. Questions? Questions on slippery elm? All right.
Bus.